What's up, guys? Welcome to the show. Welcome to Inside Traders, where we talk all things markets. And today we're going to continue talking about Bitcoin. And I'm going to share with you something that I wish I knew when I was participating in crypto markets more actively a few years ago. And so let's dive in. Basically, it's leverage. All right, you can exit the video now. Not really. Pay attention. The thing that I've discovered recently that I would like to share with you is how much leverage there is in the crypto system. Particularly, I think because of this new type of futures contract which exists in crypto land called perpetual futures. So it's a huge advantage. Now, in the traditional stock market, when you want to buy a future contract, it's always tied to an expiry period. So you're basically making a bet on so much more of a complicated matrix of variables than with these crypto perps. So here's how it works. In the stock market, if I want to use leverage, I basically can use like an ETF these days actually will give you leverage. But traditionally, and have meaningful leverage, I would need to use an options contract. I would need to buy an option. And that's a put or a call. And so when you want to buy an options contract, you're basically placing a bet on a price movement. And so you're thinking the price is going to go up or down. And if you think it's going to go up, you're going to buy a call or sell a put. If you think it's going to go down, you're going to buy a put or sell a call. And all of those have very different pricing dynamics and how they works and the cost of these things and how you get credited and all of this is a lot of it is implied volatility, but still, like the point is when you want to use leverage in the stock market, you have to tie it to an expiry period. Oh shit, that makes it so much more difficult because it introduces this element. It's called theta decay. Basically, the second you buy the contract, you begin to lose. And so it's like worse than a borrowing cost because it's like actually just linearly bringing the contract value down, guaranteed. Maybe it is like a borrowing cost. But anyway, still, it adds like this wild price dynamic where like you could have been correct 2 weeks further out, but you can lose the whole value of a contract purely because it was tied to an expiry period. So like, let's say you're going to bet that SPY is going to be 500, just generally speaking, $500, that's your bet. And you don't so you place that bet and then it immediately falls to $499 during the week that you had that contract. It expires worthless. And then for the rest of time in all of history, for that next week, it was never lower than 500 again. Do you see what I'm saying? You were completely correct. You were just wrong in the time. Well, and like, who can know that? That's all eliminated with perpetual futures, which has actually been proposed in the stock market. I was just reading the wiki since like 92. And I know probably why they don't do it. It's because they want the CBOD or whatever, like whoever sells these option contracts, they're going to make more money if more of them lose. And it kind of makes it like more of an expert business or whatever. But what's so exciting about crypto, and this is like part of the magic of crypto, is anyone can now get access to these to leverage in a much safer and less risky way, because you don't have to worry about theta decay. You don't have to worry about the value of the contract depreciating over time. All you have to pay attention to is your liquidation price, which is in part influenced by your collateral and obviously the size of your position. But here's the thing with crypto, like you can size everything so dynamically. So if I want to like have a new cost average on an instrument in the stock market like Tesla, well, I would have to open a new brokerage account. Okay, well, that's like a week of time, like that's not an easy thing. In the world of crypto, it's 2 seconds. It's just spin up a new wallet. In the world of crypto, it's done on an API call. You can automate new brokerage accounts. And so and they come with like these tools which only professional investors traditionally have had access to, like portfolio margin, which lets you get buying power according to the value of your other positions, including shorts, which is like gives you this huge incentive to go short, and because that really protects your margin and it basically lowers your liquidation risk. Basically, it lowers your costs. And so that increases your buying power. And so that's like a huge advantage. And guess what? You can just spin up a new account anytime you want and get that exact same advantage applied to a totally different risk profile. You cannot do that in the stock market. So the world of crypto, I think, is just like the internet, where it's it's in a Cambrian explosion. It is. And it's a evolution of finance. And so it is the internet, though. Like they're so coupled together that I think it's all about like networking and communication and trading, and that kind of stuff, cooperation. All of those are like baked into crypto and the internet. And so you have these perpetual future contracts, which don't have any time duration risk associated with them and provide meaningful leverage, simplifying the whole thing. So the only thing you need to pay attention to is your liquidation price, which is like easy to account for, not easy, but even easier than traditionally, because you can go short at ideal times to provide a balance to your portfolio margin. And then, hey, if you're worried, just go long in another portfolio, Like it's crazy. It's crazy what is possible in crypto land. And so I think the world is going to wake up to this stuff and like kind of demand that these advantages be made equally into the stock market. But one of the things I'm thinking about is like, should you really buy Bitcoin at 60,000? I don't know. I mean, I kind of think you should always just like, if you don't have any, you should definitely buy it. Yeah, no doubt. But if you already, it just depends on your size. Like, would I be loading up here? Not exactly, because there is so much leverage in the system. But here's the problem that nobody really knows is like, where are people going to be willing to sell? And I don't think we actually are going to see a lot of big sellers around this price. This is consolidation over many years in Bitcoin at this 60,000 level. So like when we break, I do think we're probably going to break to the upside. So then it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to put fresh money, which I do think cash is trash, and I can watch some of my other videos to know why I think that. It's a long discussion. But if I am going to try to accumulate, let's say something like Bitcoin right now, which I think is a unique asset in the crypto space and why I focus on it so much. I think my next favorite these days is Solana. Solana is a funny one. And so, cause yeah, like it's such an obvious play and we've all known about it, and it's like obvious now and we all know about it, and it's just an obvious play. And so to me, it's like basically Bitcoin and Solana plus ETH, I think Solana is doing a way better job than ETH, way better. It's just way better. It's no doubt. From a user experience, from like a customer experience, or like from like my actual participation in the market, ETH kind of sucks, And so anyway, I don't know, compared. But like, I think all of these are just technical problems. It sucks today, right? It's like saying AI is incapable. It's like, well, yeah, obviously we're going to fix it. So it's all good. I mean, the only things I'm really bullish on in crypto land outside of just like party tokens is Bitcoin, Solana, and Ethereum. I think that's because Bitcoin has the fixed supply, the scarcity, the monetary policy, so to say. And the smart contract space, I think, is like currently is being dominated by Solana, but also will be ETH. It just has so much momentum and first mover advantage, that kind of stuff. So it's like Microsoft versus Apple in that way, or something, I don't know. Anyway, so the idea is this, like, if you got fresh cash, where do you put it? I don't know. Do you buy Bitcoin? Just know if you're buying Bitcoin today, you're buying a lot of concentration and a lot of leverage. So like 5 guys own all the Bitcoins. You're making them richer every time you buy it. And everyone else is using a crazy amount of leverage. So like, are you really, you're buying such a minuscule thing, but like compared to what it barely just was. But if you look at what it seems it must inevitably be in this world of central banks printing money and Bitcoin being a sponge for all that global liquidity, then, and especially at this level of 60,000, which is consolidation over years, then it does kind of make sense to buy. So basically, I would say if you are looking to get into the cryptocurrency markets, or like somebody can challenge me on this, but here's my play. Bitcoin is the number one, 80% Bitcoin. Smart contract space is 18%, and then or maybe 15%. And then the last 5% is party tokens. And that's like dog with hat or whatever. And I don't even know, whatever they got these days, Doge and shib your pants and whatever the tokens are that people buy, the meme coins. So like, that's the way I'm constructing it. But here's what's kind of fun about having an entirely new market just for the internet is you can play it off the stock market pretty well, because it's not exactly that correlated. In fact, it does often seem that on days when crypto is up, especially Bitcoin, S&P and QQQ are down. And so there's a little bit of an arbitrage there where like you can buy crypto dips when the market is up, or vice versa. You can buy market dips when crypto's up. And I think I've talked about before, one of the things I'm really having fun with and just excited about the possibilities of is these new alternative income ETFs that it started hitting the market a year or two ago, maybe like 3, maybe since 2020, maybe like 4 years. But they're like a relatively new instrument in the market. And what they do is they generate alternative income through basically like selling covered calls, where you own, a block of 100 shares of Tesla, and you'll say, okay, I'll sell it for 5% more, kind of betting that, hey, if the price goes down, then I get to keep a little fee that I charge for saying I would sell it at 5% more, and I get to keep the shares and repeat that process until eventually it jumps 10% and you have to sell it at 5%, which is still 5% more than you had it at, but not the full 10% that it's at today. And then your shares get called away, but then you have all that fresh cash and you can buy in and do it again. And so like, it's a covered call strategy. It's like a way to generate income from the stock market. And these ETFs just do all that for you. And they do it really well, like better than I ever could. I've tried to do it. It's not easy. It's really time consuming, actually. And yeah, it's just not super easy. But they're like experts at it. So I say just buy those ETFs. That's like way better. And you get that constant yield. So what do you do with that yield? Well, you either, I think, buy the dip on, cool, good names. The names I'm interested in haven't changed. I've been talking about them for probably a decade now. And it's Tesla and Coinbase. Robinhood is basically my top 3, and ARK. And ARK's never going to change because ARK captures better than I ever could what I came to the markets in 2020 with the idea of. And when I found their research, I was like, oh yeah, that's it. And to this day, I still don't have another category. Like, let's see if I can list their categories just so they know I'm a fan of their company. Obviously, it's like AI, robotics, battery technology. Is all that in EVs? Uh, Biotech, and did I say robotics? Anyway, there's a bunch of different spaces that they see that scientists have got irons in the fire, and they're developing new technologies which will inevitably lead to additional products and services that will be sold in our and contribute to a greater share of the economy, and you can get in early at these prices. It's kind of the idea of investing in companies that don't have, because people dump on ARK all the time because they buy all these companies that don't actually make money. And it's true, they don't, but it's because they're aggressively positioned for the future, like aggressively. And so, yeah, it's interesting. I think ARK is just a target of shorts, and it's like an easy way to just capitalize on algorithmic selling, basically. And it's everything with markets is like self-reinforcing, especially if it works. A lot of it is like momentum. So we have this momentum in crypto land, and I think a ton of it is driven by leverage. And so like if I'm taking fresh cash, if I was like, I don't know that I would put hard earned capital into Bitcoin just like at the spot price right now. First of all, it could easily fall to 50,000 easily. That could happen. Or lower. If I don't know. You know, like nobody can say what the price is. One of the points of this video was to answer something that mystified me years ago, which was how did we go from like 5,000 to 20,000 on Bitcoin? Because it hit, like even 5,000 was crazy. And I really do think it's a part of it is explained not just by the adoption, but by the leverage. So like, here's what you can do if you own a bunch of Bitcoin. You can use that as collateral to buy more Bitcoin. But there's only so much Bitcoin in the world, like, which is something that people don't get or don't appreciate. I think they get it. I don't think they appreciate it. And people like Michael Saylor appreciate it. And so, yeah, there's people that appreciate it. But he's a good example of somebody where you're like buying his leverage and counting on him not to rug pull you, but it doesn't even matter because the concentration is such that there's so many people that could rug pull Bitcoin, which is why I've always been like, yeah, the price is 60,000. It could be 15,000. It could be under 10,000. Because here's what happens. When the longs start to get liquidated, like nobody wants to sell Bitcoin at 45,000 when they bought it at 60,000, right? They're being forced to sell. They're being liquidated. And that creates all this more selling pressure, which causes more liquidation. And it's only until you get giant buyers who are just like, I'll scoop it up, and they basically make the market, then that's when you get a new floor. Now, I think we probably do have a bunch of buyers like that in terms of like sovereign nations and institutions and companies and individuals and billionaires who get it, who they see what I didn't see until very recently, which is central banks are just printing money all over the world. It doesn't even matter that the US dollar is doing it. It matters that China is doing it, because China can print all the money they want all the day long. And then those guys, what can they do? They can go buy Bitcoin with it. So they turn whatever money that, I don't know why I'm picking on China. Let's pick on Russia. I'm sure they're printing rubles, whatever. Every central bank is just generating more of their tokens. And so that's the problem. And if you read the original papers in Satoshi's, like original white paper or whatever, which I've never actually read, but I've like, it's like one of those things. I should just read it so that I can say I did it. But still, one of the main tenets was that this was to combat central banks printing money. And we needed a real fixed supply. And so, yeah, like I think that is actually, Bitcoin is a lot of things. It's so many different things, which is all part of the composition of its value, is how many different things it is to so many different people. But the new thing it is to me that I never was really appreciating is a way to combat central banks just printing money. So basically my idea is like, let's see if we could just have some fun playing these markets off each other. I don't know, like see if we could get a little arbitrage going. Like why can't I? So I'll just tell you what I'm doing. Like I said, I'm going mostly Bitcoin, Sol, and ETH, and then I got my meme coins, or whatever ones I liked, and then I'm going to wait for the market to go up quite a bit, and then I'm just going to start shorting it. I am and basically playing both sides. But the idea is it would just be a way to generate capital. Okay, so then what do you do with that? I think the fun thing to do would be to wait for dips on something like Ulti or YMAG or YMAX. Basically, I like these yield max ETFs a lot. Or they have individual tickers too. You could buy Tesla, Google, Apple, Facebook, all those as well. And then you just get like this constant cash flow. And you're like, well, if you think cash is trash, well, why do you want all the cash flow? First of all, I'm using margin on everything everywhere. So like I can always use additional liquidity. That's never going to be a problem. Like I'll always have something to do with it. And well, yeah, it just lets me buy dips basically constantly. And so the whole point is to just see if we can generate like some kind of a flywheel. And of course, to do all this automatically by going long and short in all these different ways, and then to definitely do an arbitrage, or like see if there's some way to play the crypto markets off of the stock market, and then ultimately to turn all this into a game which you can buy from me for $69.99 a month from CornCube. Now, I don't know, like it'd be fun to see if I could like turn some of the stuff into something that wasn't very complicated, but was still very fun. Because it is very fun. It is very fun. Like, here's what's fun. It's fun to have information about something and then to be right and then to get paid to be right. That's really fun. And to me, there's like people would say, oh, you're a degenerate, you're a gambler, you're this. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like you make bets every day, like everybody, you walk out the door, you're going to make a bet on everything. And so you're just betting that this thing or that thing or whatever. The cool thing about markets is you get paid to be right. So if you actually have more information than other people, you're going to make money for that. Now, it's not so easy. Sponsored by Monster. To do that. It's not so easy to just do that. For so many reasons. But the thing that I've settled on is like, let's just build up cash flow and then redeploy all that cash flow wherever it makes sense. Whether that's more cash flow or crypto. But if I'm going to be buying in crypto land, I can't just like buy spot Solana anymore unless I'm like using it to transact. You have to use leverage to compete. I really think so. Because why wouldn't you? First of all, you can get your liquidation down to like 0. So you can get like 5x leverage for free, which is crazy. Risk free, basically, as long as your collateral balance is stable. So just use USDC, solved. So now you've got like that. Anyway, that's kind of the way I see it, and why I think we see these enormous price swings in the land of crypto. It's because people are buying up on leverage, but then they're getting liquidated. And so it creates these big downdrafts as like longs who never thought the price would get there get liquidated. And so, I've already been liquidated a few times on a few longs, and it really is just like bad entry points with not enough collateral. Makes sense. So it's not like it's like so easy to play crypto futures versus stock market options. It's not like it's like a sure thing, but it's so much simpler and safer not to worry about theta decay and time. So yeah, that's kind of the point of this video. Is that's how I think the crypto markets are working. They're using leverage to basically increase their buying power, and they have all these new professional tools. One thing, I'll finish with this. So the website I like is ox.fun, where basically here's what's pretty genius about what they're doing. So first of all, you can just connect with a MetaMask wallet, Coinbase wallet, whatever you got, and start transferring assets, whatever crypto assets you have, into OX Fund. And then boom, that gives you instant collateral and buying power. And so the next time you have a dip, why not transfer in some of your Bitcoin and buy that dip liquidation free risk if it actually makes sense? And then here's what I love about what they're doing. So they denominate your P&L in OX tokens instead of US dollars. Here's why that's awesome. So your P&L is your profit and loss. So like if you exit a trade, is it a win or a loss? If it's a win, you made money. If it's a loss, you lost money. So like if it's traditionally, and it makes sense just like as an American trading in the US markets, when I close a position, I'm going to be like, oh, I made $50. Oh, I made $500, whatever it is, 5,000, 5 million, whatever it is. Now I haven't made 5 million on one trade. That'd be cool. But but yeah, it's always denominated in USD. So when you do this in crypto land, you have the option, not the option, like in this platform and in many others, you can just choose what you're swapping into and out of. So you could just set these swaps up. You could be like, I'm going to swap from Bitcoin to Solana, or from Solana to Ethereum, or Ethereum to USD, or USD back into Bitcoin, or, you know, whatever. So the point is, you have it gives you this opportunity to swap things. So like I was saying, if you, the company, the brokerage, or whatever you want to use it, like the decentralized exchange that I'm using, OX Fund, when you close a trade, you're getting a token. And then what you can do with that token is you can set up ideal swaps into other tokens that you're bullish on. So, or you could just hold it or whatever. And if you're bearish, you can short it. So like, it's crazy. It's actually a lot of options. It gives you total control over your P&L. And anyway, the reason why it matters is because it actually accelerates your returns. And I've observed this in my own portfolio, and it's basically magic. Because when I close a trade, obviously I'm going to close it for a profit. I'm going to have generated a bunch of OX token. Whatever the P&L was, that's what I'm going to generate in OX token. Now that's automatically going to give me permanent additional leverage, collateral, and margin and buying power forever. You know, like, and you could just accrue that forever. And then one day you can exit your original collateral out or whatever. Or you could just, anyway, but like the whole point is then one day you get liquidated and you lose all that. So like the other side of this is like you build, and it all gets flushed out at once is how it happens. So you have to be very careful and manage your risk very carefully, which is why it's awesome that they give you portfolio margins so you can go short and actually give yourself a ton of protection against liquidations that way. So anyway, that's kind of like the way I'm playing these markets, and I think it is a pretty good flywheel. Get these alternative income ETFs. I like Yield Max. There's others. Take that cash flow and either buy the dip in the stock market if it's dipping, or buy crypto assets if they're dipping. But if you are going to buy crypto assets, you just got to know that you're buying on top of my leverage and a lot of people's leverage, you know? And so, like, do you really want to put hard-earned money into Bitcoin at spot prices? I think to be even remotely competitive, you at least have to use these perpetual futures. That's just my opinion. So yeah, the way I'm playing it is I'm going to try and stack up as much of these OX tokens as I can, and then I'll be able to, and I already have done this, but like more and more, I'll be able to use that collateral to buy the dips in the stock market. And so that flywheel is already working. Now, why do any of this? I don't know. It's just fun, like you got to do something with your time, right? But I do think it is possible to build a little bit of a flywheel, and these markets they are pretty fun. It is pretty fun. So yeah, that's the video. Hopefully that helps explain some of the price moves in Bitcoin, and